Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sports Shorts Daily. Ronnie Rance alongside Tommy Krysan today on this Monday morning edition of Sports Shorts Daily presented by LeBear's Casino. TK joining us in Port Allen at Court Street Cafe. He'll tell you plenty more about Court Street Cafe. And we're presented by the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame and LeBear's Casino. LeBear's Casino, they were buzzing yesterday. Most of the fans, of course, were in a good mood because everybody's a Saints fan for the most part in these parts. The New Orleans Saints, Tommy, have a 17-0 lead in the fourth quarter on the road with that defense that has been spectacular this year and for the most part of the last year as well. Saints defense with a 17-point lead on the road in Green Bay. They look discombobulated at the Packers, missing a couple players. Saints in total control, but yet somehow they lose the game 18-17. And you get the feeling this is one of those games that's going to come back to haunt the Saints later in the year. They should have never have lost this game.
Well, it's kind of like baseball. We always talk about you got that big lead in the eighth, ninth inning, and you can't let it get away. Well, in the NFL, if you're leading by 17 into the fourth quarter, you cannot let that get away. I mean, in the NFL, as Sean Payton said, you're going to get your butts kicked one day, and they got theirs kicked by the Dolphins. But when you're up 17, I don't care that it's on the road. You can't let that thing get away. You're right. This could be one we look back on when we get down the road and go, oh, you remember that day in Green Bay? But and they add the more bad news, the injury to Derek Carr, which we don't have the details yet, other than it is his throwing shoulder. And get Kamara back, I guess that's the silver lining. But, man, it's tough to let that one get away.
The Saints would have been in the ideal catbird seat, 3-0 in the division. The Falcons lost. They got handled by Detroit, so they fell from the unbeaten. They're now 2-1. And then Tampa is a 5-point dog at home tonight against the defending NFC champs, the Philadelphia Eagles. So you would expect that Tampa would probably lose tonight. So the Saints would have been in good shape 3-0 before Tampa comes to town. Now that's not the case. Derek Carr, they had a 17-0 lead. He injures his shoulder as soon as it happened, and he landed on his shoulder. To me, I thought collarbone or something like that. AC joint bruise is what they're kind of saying right now. It feels like it's probably a 3-4 week injury, which means you're going to probably have 3 or 4 weeks of Jameis Winston, who did not look great in the fourth quarter, although I thought they were super conservative, which to a certain extent I agree to be. You know, when you've got the lead, it's the fourth quarter, you got that defense, you think, okay, let's just run the ball a few times and let the clock go, and our defense is plenty good enough. And unfortunately, the defense didn't get it done in the fourth quarter, and offense didn't help any. The offense got ultra conservative. The offensive line still struggled. 4 sacks for the Saints. That's 3 straight games now with 4 sacks for the Saints. And without the Derek Carr connection and you just didn't have enough juice down the stretch. Now, you did miss a 46-yard field goal that could have won you the game potentially, although there would have been a lot of time and timeouts left for the Packers to go down the field. So who knows? But I didn't feel real good. I didn't love what I saw out of Jameis Winston. I didn't love the play calls down the stretch by Carmichael as well.
Well, here's the thing. You would hope Winston can look better next week because he's going to get more reps, more snaps in practice this week, okay? He went into the game, did what he could. I agree a little bit with the conservative thing. You got your defense, which you hanging your hat on, and you want to move the clock. The clock ticking was your friend in the fourth quarter, even as Green Bay began shaking back in. A little suspect on that 2-point try for Green Bay. It worked out, but a lot of that was confusing a lot of people. But it worked, so it was a good call. It's like the triple-double reverse. When it works, it's a great call. When it loses 12 yards, it's a bad call. So, man, it's, again, Winston, you would hope he can look better with all the practices, but he didn't look good. But nobody's going to look good behind that offensive line, right? I mean, Drew Brees wouldn't look good behind that line. I mean, that is just bad news. And they've got to compensate for that in some way. Screenplays, draws, get out the pocket. I don't know. And maybe Winston might be a little quicker than Derek Carr. They can roll him out a little bit. I don't know. But if he gets hit, then, you got Taysom Hill at quarterback. So it's a suspect situation. They are still 2-1. And if the Buccaneers lose tonight, they're still tied for first place in their division. So all is not lost, but certainly some question marks are present.
Yeah, Alvin Kamara, there's not going to be any just ease your way back into this lineup when he joins them next week. It's going to be a full dose of Alvin Kamara, and he probably, they're going to put more on his shoulders maybe than he even thinks, because this offense, you just get the feeling it is going. 11 straight games, Tommy, where the defense has allowed 20 points or less. Talking about the defense,
the Saints, and they're 6-5 in those 11 games. So offense, you got to come up with an offense. You got to score more than 20 points. We've always said that you score 30, you allow 20. If you can average that, you're going to win 10, 11, 12 games or more. But when your defense does the job and the offense doesn't, that's a problem in the NFL, especially in the offensive happy NFL, the passing game happy NFL. The points that we scored, not just by the Dolphins yesterday, but basically league wide. It's an offensive game, and the Saints offense, huge question mark.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to change throughout the year. I'm not expecting that all of a sudden, even when Carr comes back and you have Kamara, that all of a sudden this offense is going to click, because the foundation is that offensive line. We had concerns going into the season. Those concerns are real. They're not going to get a ton better. And so it's going to be close games and a grind all year long. You just hope that the division plays out the way we thought it would play out going into the year, and that is that the other teams in the division are going to be very good, and the Saints can handle their own. But that loss yesterday is going to be one. Group E missed a 46-yard field goal. I didn't love the fact that they didn't get it closer. I thought they had a chance to get the ball closer. I didn't feel good about a rookie kicker on the road, natural grass, in that environment, kicking a 45-plus yard field goal. I thought it was a bad spot. I thought he could have, on the play before, I thought the official came in and spotted it at least a yard further back than he was. All of that led to a Group E miss, and, now the Will Lutz fans have argument there. We'll talk plenty more about the Saints as the week unfolds. Let's bounce around the NFL for a minute, because it was such a memorable day, Tommy. 7 points by the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins are 3-0 now. They hang 70 on Sean Payton. Sean Payton, 70-20, they get beat. The Broncos are 0-3. Russell Wilson's not any better. At what point is Sean Payton regretting coming back to the NFL?
I don't think he regrets it yet, but he's in the neighborhood, okay? He's in the same area code, so, man, 70 points. It's only happened. That's the third time it's happened in the NFL. There have been a lot of games in the history of the NFL. And, 10 touchdowns. It was just an onslaught. And the comments from Peyton, the comments from a couple of Bronco players, that they've never, experienced anything like that. Yeah, as Peyton said, you're going to get your butt whipped some days. That happens in all sports at all levels. But to have it happen where you're just, at the end of the first quarter, you got no shot in the game. It just was unbelievable. And, we talked about the Dolphins last week being one of the surprise stories. Well, they added to that. And who knows what they could have scored more. They knelt on it, as they say. And and then of course the Cowboys and the Cardinals. The Cardinals exploded early against the Cowboys. You had a lot of the Bears are terrible. And that's not going to get any better any soon. But it was a crazy weekend in college and NFL, in particular the NFL.
The 3 games with the 3 biggest dogs. Cardinals were plus 13. They went outright. The Bears were plus 12.5, and they got shut out and just demolished. But the Colts were plus 8 against the Ravens, and the Colts won. So 2 of the 3 games, not only did the dogs cover, but they won outright. I went 4-2 on my picks yesterday, Tommy. I had 6 games, all equal units. Went 4-2. I did take the Cardinals to cover the 13. I like the Cardinals there. I did not touch the Bears. I thought the Bears were trash and the Cardinals were decent. I didn't think the Cardinals would win, but I did think they would cover. But the Dolphins, Tua Tungavaloa has been taking some criticism and heat ever since his final year with the Alabama Crimson Tide, where he was banged up, and he, can he stay healthy? Is he good enough? Joe Burrow, of course, has had this quick rise to being arguably the second best quarterback in the league behind Patrick Mahomes. That's debatable. And Tua's kind of, had his injury issues and had his struggles at times with the Dolphins. Although when healthy has played well, when healthy they've won. Well, now it seems it's all come together this year. And he was made fun of during camp for being with someone a national pundit perceived as fat or too big. And he has played gigantic in the first 3 weeks. The Dolphins are the surprise team in the NFC, and legitimately look like a team that will contend the rest of the year. This isn't a fluke.
No, I don't think it's a fluke. 3 games is a long way to go. But some people now starting to recognize, hey, this Coach McDaniel, he's an analytics guy. I mean, he doesn't look the part, but they're starting to think that, he's obviously got the Dolphins believing in what he's doing and what his staff is doing. And, they have become the story of the NFL season. 3 weeks in, I mean, there's a long way to go.
Both of the Philadelphia Eagles tonight, folks, as they take on the Tampa Bay Bucks in Tampa. We need the Eagles to win. Real other NFL story before we talk some LSU. Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift. This was rumored to be happening, that these two were seeing each other, and boy, did they come out in full force. Taylor Swift showed up at the game with her friends in the box with Travis Kelce's family, like a long lost girlfriend that's been around for years. In there, and then the Chiefs celebrated Kelce's return, dominant fashion win over the Bears, a shutout victory, 41-42-0, something like that. And Kelce catches a touchdown pass. I mean, it was like this Cinderella fairy tale. There's some people that are concerned that there's going to be too much of a distraction with Taylor Swift around now. What's your reaction, TK?
Well, when you're sitting next to your boyfriend's mom in the suite at a football game, that's big, that's a story. And certainly it's been a story. And then as Patrick Mahomes said, he asked Kelce the other day privately, so you dating Taylor Swift? And he said, I never know when that guy's being serious. He said, he kind of didn't give me the answer, He said, but I guess when the girlfriend's sitting next to mom in the suite at the home football game in Kansas City, you got something going on there. So aside from that, they just totally demolished the Bears. So, Ryan, we got good morning from Italy.
Yeah, Mom.
Is she over there for the Ryder Cup?
She is not there for the Ryder Cup. She's in Milan, Italy, TK, which on a map is not near Rome. But yeah. Hi, Mom. Get back to touring all the beautiful things in Italy and get off the phone watching sports daily. But we appreciate the loyalty, Ma. Bring back some leather shoes, some Italian leather shoes, 14 wide.
And a size 12, that'll work.
There you go. But she was over in London the other day, doing a little tour of Europe over there with some friends. That's awesome. All right, let's talk some LSU for a minute. Tigers win 34-31. They do not cover the point spread. They were an 18-point favorite, 17.5-point favorite, depending on which shop you got it at. They did hit the over. The total hit the over to the 65 points. The over-under, I think, was 56.5. Was that it, Tommy?
Yeah,
I think?
Yeah. So it did go over. You accurately predicted that on Sports Shorts Radio.
But the great thing about my new rule this year is I am not betting on LSU. I'm not betting on Saints at all. I'll give my prediction. I'll give my opinion. I'll tell you where I think I would go. But I'm not actually putting any money on Saints and LSU. That's my 2023 rule. And I'm glad that was the case because I was able to enjoy the 34-31 win over the Razorbacks and not – be sitting there upset that they won by 3 and didn't cover the 17, 18 points. But I do like the fact that they went into the halftime, looked like trash offensively, and Jayden Daniels got it together in the second half. Looked like Jayden Daniels of Mississippi State.
Yeah, I wish he'd get the ball out of his hand a little bit more. He seems, that we saw early last year, he tended to tuck and run a little quickly at a few times. But hey, the bottom line is they woke up with that drive near the end of the half, and then they got the ball third quarter. That old double hit thing where you score at the end of the half, get the ball third quarter. And, we talked about KJ Henderson being pretty darn good for Arkansas. We saw that he is pretty darn good. But it's a great win. It's a conference win. Didn't cover and all that stuff, but Brian Kelly's not worried about that. He's worried about getting W's. They got 2 games on the road coming up. Okay, you got Ole Miss this Saturday. And by the way, they play Missouri on the road the week after. Missouri's now ranked, and they're 4-0. I mean, nobody saw that coming in August, okay? So, but the task at hand, Logan Diggs ran the heck out of the football. Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas were very good defensively. Harold Perkins was everywhere, and Wingo had a big game. So they found a way to win against a team that typically gives them a lot of trouble. There's something about that Arkansas game. So, so many years it's been in November, Thanksgiving week and near the end of the season. But it moved it to September, and it still was one of those games you just kind of glad to get it over with, glad to have the win.
The LSU secondary is not good. I mean, they're flat out bad. And look, you're going to have other games like this. This is how you're going to have to win in 23. You're going to have to outshoot the other opponent. You're going to, it's probably going to be that way against Ole Miss. I would think again at home against Ole Miss that it's going to be a high-scoring affair. Clearly, the line states that. What's the over/under on it, Tommy?
63.5 in Oxford. LSU's a 2.5-point favorite. 63.5 the over/under. That's the biggest over. LSU's been favored in every game this year. That's the biggest over and under number.
Yeah, Tigers are a 2.5-point favorite right now at the beginning of the week against Ole Miss. I expect that this game's going to be high scoring. I expect that the turnover situation. If I know who's going to win the turnover battle, that's probably who's going to win the game because both teams are going to move the ball up and down the field. And this defense is it's not a championship defense. Unfortunately, fortunately for LSU, it's not a championship league. Alabama showed life. They took care of business, but they're not a high-scoring team. They're just a very good defense. And Alabama is you got to get them now before they figure it out on offense. Eventually Alabama's probably going to figure it out on offense. You just hope that it's not till the end of November, not at the beginning of November when LSU plays them. But that defense is real at Alabama, and they're now going to take a lot of confidence after the win against Ole Miss, where a lot of people had them, even though they were a 7.5-point favorite. A lot of people thought, okay, this is the game they're going to lose, and that wasn't the case. But offensively for LSU, they turned it on. They made it happen. Jaden Daniels, that second half, was clicking on cylinders, found some other options at receiver, and they survived in advance, Tommy. Survived in advance. I think it's going to be that way. Look, this week, next week, on the road, as you mentioned, a Missouri game that everybody thought was, the biggest part about the Missouri game. Oh, LSU's never played in Missouri. It'll be fun to go see what that stadium's like. Well, shit. Now you're going to be in a dogfight.
No, they played there. That's where what's his name got hurt.
Oh, that's right. That's where the quarterback
Miles Brennan got the hip.
Miles Brennan in 2020, right?
He got the hip thing that he kind of never recovered from, among other things. But so
Columbia.
Huh? You've been there?
Columbia.
No, I've never been either. I don't think I'm going to go either. But anyway, no, LSU, hey, about Ole Miss, that's a 5 o'clock kick Saturday. So you got time to watch some other stuff during the day. And it's going to be a shootout. And look, they got to compensate for the secondary by pressuring the quarterback. Ole Miss quarterback can move around a little bit. He's got a good arm. He's got experience. He's been around for a while. And they're going to have to try to affect the quarterback to make up for the holes in the secondary. By the way, Ronnie, I'm like everybody else. I watch a lot of college football these bunch of weeks. I wanted somebody to look up how many guys are playing for a school that they didn't transfer into. I mean, it seems like every announcer in every game, I don't care if it's a game on the West Coast, or whatever, like, well, he transferred from such and such, and he's a transfer from such and such, including LSU, and then now they're saying that's, Dabo Sweeney has not embraced the transfer portal. And they're saying that's why he's 0-2 in the ACC now. So, but it's more than a few. I don't care which game you watch, Notre Dame, Ohio State, I don't care which game you watch, most of the guys on the field are transfers. So it's kind of wild and crazy.
Yeah, and look, I've done a lot of college baseball on TV the last couple of years. Most of them are in college baseball. They transfer even more because the opportunity to dip down in the JUCO route as well. So, the average player is like 2 transfers. Speaking of Dabo Sweeney and Clemson, touch on that. They miss a 20-something yard chip shot field goal to beat Florida State, which I'm glad they did because I had Florida State covering, and they did, and that's why I won that bet Saturday. So thank you. But how about that? Clemson, who you would think, especially with the transfer portal and the NIL situation, Tommy, can at least have a field goal kicker. And they don't. They literally were having campus tryouts. They got a guy off that was taking online classes. Like, they lost a game against Florida State because they don't have a field goal kicker. You would think in this day and age they could go down to Division III, Division II, find somebody, a junior college, find somebody who can kick a field goal and have 2 of those guys on your team that can at least make 40 yards in pretty automatically. Like, I get it if they can't make it 40 plus or 45 plus. But 40 yards in should be automatic in big-time college football. And they lost the game because they missed a 27-yard field goal.
Well, they got to get to the drawing board quickly. That's the first time Florida State won a game at Clemson since they had a guy named Jameis Winston quarterbacking. So, that's a long time. So, and no different than, Groupie missing for the Saints. Field goals, most coaches are not big fans of special teams or particular kickers, but when you got to have that field goal, you got to have it. You can't do what the Bears did yesterday. Down 41-0, guy made a field goal so they could avoid the shutout. Come on. You want to give the guy a chance to make one, but it's easy to make that. Just like in baseball, it's easy to get a hit when you're down 15-0. You can try to rip one up the middle. So, but you got to do it when it matters and when it counts. And Clemson didn't get it done, and they're 0-2 in the ACC for the first time in a long time.
I'm curious to see what LSU does this Saturday. We'll talk more later in the week on how they defend Dart, the quarterback, similar to what LSU faced at Florida State. And that game, they decided to let Perkins be a spy. Story just kind of made sure he was the safety valve that Dart, they didn't get beat on the ground running the football. Of course, Florida State threw the ball all over the place. Will they take that same approach? Will they not? It's going to be very curious to see what LSU thinks of their defense and how they change the approach on Saturday. Tigers a 2.5-point favorite, by the way, against Ole Miss, 5 o'clock. College football, one quick comment from you, Tommy. Colorado lost, I think 41-6 was the score. They scored late to avoid the shutout. The Buffaloes were a 22-point dog, something like that. They're the same kind of dog this week against Southern Cal. Playing without their best player, Travis Hunter, last week. They had no answer for
Well, I accurately predicted that train was coming off the track. They're 24-point dogs in Southern Cal. They got to reset their goals. Their goals now are to win 6 games and get to a bowl game. That's what it is. And, you got all that attention, and you just got boat raced against Oregon, who's a good team. No question. Oregon's a good team. They're going to win a lot of football games. But back to the drawing board. It hurts not having Travis Hunter, but that's not why they got beat as bad as they beat. And Southern Cal goes into Colorado this week. That's an early game, like 11, 12 o'clock kickoff. And Southern Cal is a huge favorite. So some of that glitter has come off the Buffalo train.
Yeah, but it has. But at the same time, the story was not that Buffalo was going to win and go undefeated this year. That was not the goal. The goal all along was, will Deion Sanders make it at this level? Will he take a program that had 1 win a year ago? What will he do with that team? And he's shown, hey, 3-1, people care. And I don't know what my prediction is for this Buffalo team this year, but I for sure, if you'd have told me going into the season they went from 1 win and irrelevant and all that to all of a sudden they got 6 wins and they're in a bowl game, I'd be like, that's a tremendous success. And I think currently the fans know that, believe that. And look, I agree with Dion, what he said after the game. Get me now while I'm down, because you're not going to get me later. And I totally believe that. I think they're going to go in the portal and get so many offensive, defensive linemen that they're going to be tremendously improved next year.
Yeah, well, time will tell.
I want to. You've mentioned big day today, and I saw the post. I can't believe it's already here. We got college basketball cranking up this week.
Kim Mulkey's Tigers start today. Coach McMahon's Tigers start tomorrow. College basketball practices. The women's practice is open to the public at 1:30 today at the PMAC. So if you want to fight the traffic and the crowds, and so LSU delayed school today because of a power outage. So I guess it's okay now. They delayed. Nothing started at 8. It started at 10. But yeah, the college basketball is here. We'll get into that as we go further. A little later this week, Wednesday, we'll talk a little more about the Ryder Cup. USA versus Europe from over right outside of Rome. You got your Ryder Cup hat on. That's cool. We'll talk about that a little bit more as the week goes on with Sports Shorts Daily and, of course, Sports Shorts Radio that's coming Saturday.
Burns, by the way, Louisiana Shreveport product, playing for the Ryder Cup this week. I'm looking forward to that. And, with Mama Rance in Italy, I think that's a good omen. Take the United States.
They haven't won in Europe in 30 years. It's an every fourth year thing, because every other year event, and it rotates between Europe and the U.S. So a lot of pressure on the USA team. The course is a par 71 right outside of Rome, 10 miles outside of Rome, Italy. So we'll see how it gets done. Well, and again, we'll talk more about that Thursday and Friday on Sports Shorts Daily.
Give us the line on Wednesday, Tommy, on the Ryder Cup, because USA is going to be plus money. So let us know what that is.
We'll definitely look at that come Wednesday when we'll be over at Tremonti's.
All right.
Okay. Mom says she got it covered. She's going to the Ryder Cup. All right. Hey, don't forget Court Street Cafe, breakfast, lunch, dinner, full service bar right behind me. They'll have LSU on this weekend. They do a great job. Got a big catering job, going to a golf tournament today. Hopefully the weather doesn't get them. Jason and the staff do a great job. Just posted on Facebook the daily lunch and dinner specials for the rest of the week. You can make your plans for Court Street Cafe in Port Allen, just a couple of minutes over the Mississippi River Bridge. We're here just about every Monday. We enjoy coming over to Court Street Cafe, and you need to do the same.
All right, we're all Eagles fans tonight, pulling for the Eagles over the Tampa Bay Bucks. I know it's kind of, everybody hates having to pull for the Eagles, but hey, Saints are 2-1, tied right now with Atlanta at the top of the division in the NFC South. We need the Bucks to be 2-1, and then that would set up a first-place showdown next week in the Dome. By the way, Jameis Winston likely to get that start for the Saints going against the old team. That would be some extra motivation. All right, well, for Tommy Christ and I'm Ronnie Rance, have a great week. Everybody will be back on Wednesday for more Sports Shorts Daily, presented by LeBears Casino, the best place to go tonight to watch the Monday Night Football, a doubleheader tonight over at LeBears.